Right, I'm back for my UFC on Fox 3 predictions video. Thoughts on this card, two things strike me. First, the number of Canadians. It isn't being hosted in Canada, but there are quite a lot of them on the card. The second thing is there are a lot of toughers, and many of them are quite new. So new that I'm likely to not know about their history on Tough, which is no doubt going to spawn some I just couldn't help myself but say comments in this on this YouTube video. But there we are. I'm going to do my usual start at the top of the card and then with the main event and then go from the bottom all the way up. We've got Nathan Diaz and Jim Miller, and this fight is one that's going to be hugely exciting if Nathan Diaz is on top form. He is 15-7 and Miller is 21-3. Both of these are very good fighters. Jim Miller has never been submitted, and that is Nathan Diaz, his speciality. His one submission loss was to Hermes Franca, but that was way back in 2006. I don't know if either of them are going to be good enough to finish each other, or whether this will probably be a split decision victory. And it's going to be a very, very close call. I think I'm just slightly erring towards Jim Miller, but I really would like to see Nathan Diaz do very well. Mike Macenzio is facing Carlos Vermola. Vermola 8-2, record loss-win-loss. Mike Macenzio 13-6, loss-win, loss-loss, win-loss, win-loss is the background for him. He both wins and loses by submission. I don't know who's going to win this one, and I don't really mind too much because, to be totally honest with you, I don't really know any of the people involved here. I think I'm heading towards Mike Macenzio though on that. Roland Delorme is fighting Nick Dennis. Roland is 7-1, likes to win by submission. He has never been finished. Nick Dennis 11-2 is a stand-up fighter, so this is groundsman versus striker. He's on a 2-fight win streak and he has never seen a decision. So I think that again, this is probably going to be not so easy to call. I'm going to go for Nick Dennis, I think, but I don't know how. Dennis Bermudez is fighting Pablo Garza, and despite all the hoo-ha that was around him on Tough, I seem to recall, he's coming off 3 losses if you exclude Tough from his record, and all those losses are submission. Pablo Garza is 11-2, and guess what his submission? Guess what his? Oh, I've just told you. Guess what his specialism is? Yes, it's submission. He only really loses to calibers, and I don't think Dennis Bermudez is one of them. So I'm going to go for a Pablo Garza bar submission in the 3rd. Danny Castillo is fighting John Cholish. And who is John Cholish, you might ask? Yes, well, I asked myself that as well, because he's a person with only 8-1 on his record. He's got no calibers that I can see, whereas Danny Castillo is 13-4. He's a Team Alpha Male trainee, and he is on a 2-fight win streak. So I'm going to go for Danny Castillo there. I might go for TKO. John Lineker, something like that, is fighting Luis Gaudinot. You might remember that he was my choice for winning Tough. He is the one with bizarre green coloured hair. and he didn't win at all. In fact, I think he got knocked out of the competition quite early, but there we are. His record is 5-2, whereas John is 19-5. But he is a debutee. The reason they've probably done this, the reason they've probably brought him into the institution is because he's on a 13-fight win streak. But I didn't see any calibers. I have to say, I hope that is quite a hollow record. So I'm going to go for Lewis Gaudinot on that. John Hathaway is fighting Pascal Kraus. Pascal Kraus rings a bell with me, and maybe that's because he's been on the continental, the European scene a little bit. He's got a perfect record of 10, likes to win by submission, but he isn't exactly John Hathaway, who is also who's definitely British. I know of him from Cage Rage. His record is 15-1. I see this being a John Hathaway decision victory. John Dobson is fighting Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott, his claim to fame is that he managed to beat Jens Pulver last year. John Dobson, you know, he's only ever lost by decision, and he's on a 3-fight win streak. Tougher as well. I actually think that he might do quite well here, so I'm going to go for a victory for him there. Tony Ferguson is fighting Michael Johnson. Do you know how many Michael Johnsons there are on Sherdog? There are quite literally thousands. But I have found the right Michael Johnson, I do believe, with a record of 10-6, loss win. He tends to be a stand-up fighter, as does Tony Ferguson, who is his opponent. Tony Ferguson has in fact not been knocked out, so good luck to Michael Johnson there. His record's better as well, and he happens to be on a 6-fight win streak. I'm going to go for a Tony Ferguson win by TKO in the second there. One of my favourites is returning next, Pat Barry, 7-4. He's fighting Levar Johnson, who's 16-5. He's never seen a decision, has Levar Johnson, and I don't think he will this time either. He is a guy who has 14 TKOs to his name. Now, Patrick Barry is known for his stand-up fighting. His record may be slightly smaller, but you might like to know that his only loss by TKO was that lucky punch, wasn't it, from a sort of half-bedraggled Chake Congo, I seem to recall. I think that Pat Barry will probably come back in form here with his leg kicks, and then he will get a TKO in the second. Rousimar Palhares is fighting Alan Belcher, and they have both done really well. They are both stand-up fighters, so this is likely to be a battle on the feet. But I know that Rousimar Palhares also likes submissions. They're both on a 3-fight win streak. You know, this is quite a hard one to call. I'm tending to go towards Rousimar Palhares, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong there. Some of these, they're all pretty hard to call, these. Some of them because the people are hardly known at all, and some of them because the people are so well matched on talent. Josh Koscheck is fighting Johnny Hendricks. This is interesting because Johnny Hendricks only loses by decision. He's a stand-up fighter on a 3-fight win streak. Josh Koscheck, 17-5. You know, he also tends to win or lose by decision, and there's a good reason for that. He, by the way, is on a 2-fight win streak, and this is because Josh Koscheck is one of those wrestlers. Oh yes, one of those wrestlers. Now, you might think if you looked at Johnny Hendricks' record that he would have no problem with this sort of wrestler, because he has just come off beating John Fitch. However, one has to ask themselves whether, you know, about 15 seconds or whatever it was, is enough to say that he's had sort of experience of somebody who's very good in the art of lay and pray. We don't know. The other thing is that Josh Koscheck has fought much better calibers over a much longer period of time. If Johnny Hendricks can't recreate his quick knockout, and it has been done, and it has also been done to Josh Koscheck with, was it Thiago somebody or somebody Thiago, I don't recall, but there was sort of this knockout which came out of the blue, so he is susceptible to that. But I don't really see that Johnny Hendricks will sort of recreate anything like that. And I have to say that I would like nothing more than Johnny Hendricks to win this one. I've met him, I like him, and I don't particularly like Josh Koscheck at all. But if I'm being honest, and I want to do well in my predictions, you know, I think this is going to be a Josh Koscheck victory.